Respected teachers, our lesson is technology. Passing on a craft to the younger generation is one of our greatest and most honorable duties. Therefore, today
If you can't achieve your goal, change your plan of action, not the goal itself.
Today we will talk about wires with you. Wire. Common metal wire is truly such a versatile and remarkable material that you can design and meticulously craft very interesting, exclusive gifts, whimsical decorative toys, and even stunning pieces of fine jewelry from it, showcasing your personal creativity in endless ways. You might ask how? For that, you need to have certain skills. Like any material, wire also has various properties and structural compositions. For our creative students interested in this craft, we recommend choosing soft and flexible wire. What can be made from copper, aluminum, and similar soft materials? They can be used. Copper wire is very durable, and at the same time it is a pliable material. It bends and twists easily. Copper and aluminum wires come in various thicknesses and are measured by the diameter of their cross-section. They are used in electrical wiring, manufacturing, and for making decorative items in handicrafts. It serves as the main material for beginner students. Copper's beautiful color and smooth surface make it a top choice among jewelry makers. These wires are considered flexible and easy to solder. That is why they are used more often. Aluminum wire is similar to copper in its properties, but it is somewhat more brittle. It is considered more difficult to solder. However, with today's technological advancements, this is no longer a problem. A major advantage of this material is that its natural color closely resembles the look of fine silver, so any jewelry pieces crafted from it will always appear exceptionally elegant and sophisticated. Wires are also made from steel. This means that the wire used inside this decorative device must have low flexibility. In other words, it should be made of steel so it can support the items placed inside the container. In general, the wires mentioned above are chosen based on where they will be used and what function they will serve. Special alloys have been created for such jewelry items. The price of wires made from these alloys is considerably higher. This depends on their composition, meaning they contain silver or gold additives. As a result, the products made from them become much more expensive. They are also made from pure gold. God willing, you too will reach this level. If you thoroughly master the art of crafting our products perfectly, you will be able to create such exquisite pieces of fine jewelry. This depends on you. That is to say, it ultimately rests upon your own dedication. A jeweler is required to be extremely attentive, have a high level of taste, and possess a perfect knowledge of measurement units, because our clients are very particular and demand that you handle our materials with great care. Gold, pure gold, and even silver materials are used as genuine decorative materials. In order to reach this level of mastery, we strive to perfect our craft using the wires mentioned above. We familiarize ourselves with the necessary tools required to work in this field, that is, scissors or wire cutters to cut wires to the required size. For temporarily joining some parts, use electrical tape or modeling clay. If necessary for permanently attaching parts, use hot glue or soldering tools. Additional materials for decoration, buttons, beautiful stones, beads, attractive pieces of fabric or leather. Now, here are some things you might need during the work process. That is, scissors, wire cutters, and round-nose pliers for cutting, twisting, and bending wire. Depending on the type of material, you'll need glues, solder, rosin, and so on to join parts together. You'll need clamps to temporarily hold parts in place. To effectively smooth out the inherent roughness of the metal wires, you will definitely need to use a small hammer along with small anvils, or perhaps some flat round stones and other similar types of tools. These flat round stones are very useful. Furthermore, to properly grind down and polish the sharp ends of the wires, you will need to have files of various different sizes and several grits of sandpaper. Additionally, there are also specialized knives available that are specifically designed for removing the outer insulation from these wires. intricately patterned needles or specialized rods of a wide variety of different thicknesses for the delicate process of weaving metallic wire. Before we eventually reach the high level of such professional masters, we will first practice by making much more basic geometric shapes and everyday functional items. It all depends on the individual learner's ability. If you pay very close attention to these kinds of shapes, whether it's an animal, a bird, some kind of creature, a musical instrument, or the shape of an everyday object, at the very initial stage of the project, to properly prepare, the metal wires are carefully made ready for the entire process using the previously mentioned auxiliary tools. First, the specific shape is meticulously drawn onto a wooden board. Then sturdy nails are hammered firmly into the various bent points of the drawing. And finally, the wire is slowly guided along them to achieve the desired form. It all depends on you. The shape is ready. As fine motor skills in the hands continue to develop, the challenges and activities become increasingly complex. For example, we move from simple two-dimensional flat shapes to three-dimensional objects and forms. So you might ask, what does that mean? Here is the flat shape of this cat. And this one is three-dimensional. Beautiful, isn't it? There are many examples of this. Here you go. Father, for example, pay attention to the little person. The volume is taking shape. We will also make this one step by step following the order we've used before. So the result, as our skills improve, we move on to creating beautiful three-dimensional shapes from wires. As I mentioned earlier, when we start working as jewelers, we learn the patterns, decorations, and shapes of jewelry in this very way, studying the work of our jewelers step by step. As a result, we learn how to make such beautiful, dazzling, and eye-catching jewelry pieces. Some people become blacksmiths who craft items like these. These are also very beautiful and considered valuable. Nowadays, they are becoming especially popular. So what is the basis of this? It's the wires. In short, skill and experience come through practical exercises. Now we will watch, observe, and learn from the work of our experienced teacher, Gani John.
There are three things that never come back: time, words, and opportunity. That's why you shouldn't waste time. Choose your words carefully and don't miss your opportunity.
Since there was a slight technical issue with the audio while our experienced teacher was making this scorpion, I will provide the narration. For this, try to use the softest wire possible from the ones mentioned above. In our case, we have aluminum wire. We cut this aluminum wire into 16 pieces, each 200 millimeters, that is 20 centimeters long, and then we separate exactly half of these cut wires, meaning 8 of them. In other words, we divide them into 2 groups, we separate them, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. After taking 8 of them, we set the remaining ones aside separately. Okay, now taking one group of these wires to prevent them from shifting around at this point, and to make sure we secure them firmly in place, we are going to use a bit of insulating tape to wrap them up tightly. Because when we twist or bend the wire, if it shifts from its place, it can cause us unwanted problems. That's why what do we do with one end in the middle of it? Finally, we bring everything to a close. Okay, now that we have successfully finished wrapping it up, the next step is to carefully take one of these long wires and begin to neatly and tightly wind it all the way around this entire bundle. You want to make sure you are wrapping it around very securely, almost as if we are tying it up for good, just like we are binding it together to ensure that everything stays perfectly in place. After you've successfully tied it securely, if at this point the wire becomes increasingly tighter and more resistant, depending on the specific type of wire you have in your hand, at this stage we use whichever of our tools is most appropriate for the task, and then we carefully pull and wrap the material tightly all the way to the very end. In exactly the same way, what will we do with the next wire as we continue the process? We simply keep wrapping it around in this identical fashion until there is only one single wire remaining at the very end. now we are carefully wrapping around the very last remaining wire as well, ensuring it is perfectly secure. With this final movement, we successfully finish our first step of the entire process. Next, we take these sharp cutters to carefully cut off all the excess parts that we no longer need, just like this, and you can see exactly how it turns out. This is the precise method we use to prepare our blank, making sure it is ready for the next stage of our project. Alright, now that we have successfully prepared everything, we are ready to move on to the next step involving our 8-wire piece. Go ahead and carefully take this specific 8-wire piece directly from the middle section here. We bend it in the middle. Carefully bend it, and as much as you possibly can, pull it very tight all the way to the very end. Because now, at this stage, we will carefully insert each of these individual pieces into the prepared coiled wire, one by one, to gradually form the scorpion's waist section. Make sure every single piece is securely in place before you move on to the next step. First, we begin by shaping the central part of the scorpion's waist. For this, take one wire. Carefully bring the end of the material right into the very center of the coil. Pull it as tight as you possibly can to remove any slack, and then, if it is at all possible, make sure to secure it firmly so that it absolutely does not slip out of its intended place during the next steps. Once again, we will utilize one of our specialized pliers or various other auxiliary tools at our disposal. We do the same with the remaining parts, threading them through as well. Alright, once we have successfully finished threading every single one of these pieces together, the next step is to carefully begin layering them one by one directly on top of each other, making sure to follow a very specific and deliberate crisscross pattern to ensure everything is perfectly aligned and secure. This is often called a cross pattern. Just like this, we carefully and neatly layer them on top of each other without rushing. Here we need to carefully organize and arrange the wires with a sense of style, keeping the distances between each of them neat, uniform, and visually attractive. Please keep in mind that these thin metal wires we have carefully threaded through will later serve as the sturdy legs of our finished insect model. Using both of your hands, you carefully adjust and shape them very nicely, just exactly like this. Now, in order to begin crafting these legs, you will need to take 2 individual wires at a time. If you pay close attention to the process, you will notice that by carefully tying these 2 wires together in this specific way, we end up with a total of 8 legs for our project. Now, as a clear example to help you understand, let's try the process of shaping one specific figure together. You simply need to wrap the material around and tie it securely just like this, ensuring everything stays in place as you work. Following this same procedure, you should wrap the remaining pieces together in this specific order to ensure everything is properly organized. So we finished making the legs as well. Now we are going to carefully remove all of this old used up electrical tape, and then we can finally start making the detailed shape of the scorpion's head. If you take a moment to look very closely at our scorpion here, especially in this reference picture, you can clearly see that it has a distinct snout, and it almost looks like it has a small hand reaching out. It looks a bit like a crayfish. So, what do we do with these parts? We prepare them For that, you separate 3 wires to each side, making 6 in total, and 2 will remain. Those 2 are right here. For now, we are going to take these 3 wires and carefully twist them together nicely, giving them a well-defined and shaped form. You should aim for a result that looks just like this example here, which shows you the proper way to do it. You keep twisting them in sequence. When you reach the end, it becomes difficult to twist the wire. At that point, you stop and then do the same with the second one in the same order. Now, the claw part of our scorpion is also ready. There are the legs. We'll finish with the tail later. Now, the 2 remaining ones. Some people call it the nose part, others call it something else. Yes, now we'll smooth this out nicely with the pliers so that the claw part looks neat. In some cases, they also leave it shaped. Okay, now that we are here, we are carefully shaping each of the legs and having a detailed discussion about the best way to assemble them together for the final piece. To check if the legs are bent correctly, you can place it on a flat surface. Now here is the specific part that looks particularly scary to us, which is the long tail section right at the very end. By carefully removing all of the excess material, as you can clearly see right here, our teacher is now diligently working on the process of making a very nice and precise needle part. It's very clear. It worked out. Goodbye. Now, this is exactly what we have finally created together. Some people might call it a mustache, while others prefer to call it a nose. Now, by carefully refining and shaping that particular part, specifically the entire region around the mouth, we can finally bring it to its proper and intended form. It's easy. It's made. Now, as far as I am currently aware, in order to make everything look much more natural, when you are going about the process of shaping the hands once again, that part, he wants to carefully trim the material to the exact same length and shape it properly, so it looks just right. Let's watch. Yes, and now all the various parts that can be squeezed have also been successfully formed. Look at that skill. Bravo, master. When you put it on a flat surface, you can see how the legs spread out, and by cutting off the excess, the leg part as well, we will finally make the score even. Here, from ordinary wire. It looks very similar. And I think it turned out to be an interesting exercise. I think you can do this too. It would be better if you did it with softer materials, because we have materials that don't contain metal. It's very beautiful.
Long live. I despise those who consider repeating others' opinions as wisdom, disobedience as courage, and revealing others' secrets as honesty.
Long live the teacher, and good luck. Here, it was completed right before our eyes. It's very beautiful. We made this from aluminum wire. In our next lesson, we will make it from copper wire. Right here, in this very spot, we are going to craft a magnificent tree using this specific type of flexible copper wire. It is going to be a very beautiful, uniquely exotic decorative tree once finished. Let our operator show it again. Show it up close. To all our dedicated teachers, please never grow weary of teaching our children and passing on your skills, and always stay in the best of health. Goodbye until we meet again in our next lesson when we work together to make the tree.